It hasn't been something that we just decided. It's actually, I feel like it's been something we've been working toward. So this is
about Ryan Gosling joining Star Wars. But here's the real question: will he even stay? Disney is desperate after years of bad decisions. The box office numbers haven't been great lately, and The Acolyte is showing that fans aren't willing to settle for storytelling that feels forced or driven by an agenda. Disney really needs this next movie to do well, but Ryan Gosling isn't your typical Hollywood actor. He focuses on great roles and doesn't get caught up in political drama. His career has been built on his talent, not pushing a message. So, what happens if Disney tries to sneak its usual agenda into this movie? Will Gosling just go with it, or will he walk away? If he does, it could be a huge embarrassment for Disney. Big news just came in about a brand new Star Wars movie, and it's honestly hard to believe. Ryan Gosling is in talks to star in it. Yes, you read that right. This film is being directed by Shawn Levy, the guy behind Stranger Things and the recent Deadpool and Wolverine movies. If you've been following the latest rumors, you probably heard that Ryan Gosling was being considered for another big Disney role, but it wasn't related to Star Wars at all. There's been talk for a couple of years now that Ryan Gosling might play Ghost Rider in the MCU. But the big question now is whether this new Star Wars movie with Shawn Levy will be a one-time thing or the start of a whole new trilogy. Knowing Disney, especially with their recent struggles with Star Wars, they'll probably want a trilogy. If Ryan is starring in all 3 films, I'm not sure how he could also take on Ghost Rider. We know Ryan loves doing different kinds of movies, so being tied to 2 huge franchises might be a challenge for him. Having 2 of the biggest franchises in the world on his plate would definitely limit the roles Ryan Gosling could take. I honestly can't decide if I love this or not. Disney is in desperate need of a win after years of disappointing Star Wars projects, fan backlash, and poor box office numbers. Right now, Ryan Gosling might be their best chance. But here's the catch: Gosling isn't your typical Hollywood star. He's known for his great performances, not pushing political messages. So, if Disney tries to force their usual agenda, will he go along with it, or will he walk away? Star Wars used to be a guaranteed hit, something fans knew would always do well at the box office. But that's changed. The sequel trilogy split fans, especially The Last Jedi, which sparked major controversy. Then came The Acolyte, a show that got so caught up in identity politics that many fans rejected it right away. On top of that, Disney's had some big flops lately, like Indiana Jones 5 and The Marvels. It's becoming clear that audiences are tired of forced stories. For years, Lucasfilm had one rule: cast unknowns and focus on making a good story. Let Star Wars make them famous. Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, none of them were household names before A New Hope. Even in the prequels, George Lucas went with younger rising actors like Hayden Christensen and Ian McGregor rather than huge stars. The same strategy continued with The Force Awakens, where Daisy Ridley and John Boa were virtual unknowns. The reason it kept the audience immersed in the Star Wars universe rather than reminding them of an actor's previous role. But now Disney is breaking its own. Disney is breaking with tradition because they have no choice. Ryan Gosling is one of the biggest stars today. He's been in hits like La La Land, Drive, Blade Runner 2049, and the billion-dollar success Barbie. He's also a 3-time Oscar nominee and a proven leading man. If Star Wars was still riding high, would Disney have even considered casting him? Probably not. The truth is, Star Wars can't just depend on its name to sell tickets anymore. The magic has faded, and fans don't rush to see a new Star Wars film just because it's Star Wars. Star Wars has taken too many hits, and now, instead of finding the next Harrison Ford, Lucasfilm is going after big Hollywood stars, hoping to win back fans. On the surface, Ryan Gosling seems like the perfect choice to bring the franchise back. He's not just a talented actor, but he also avoids the Hollywood spotlight for political statements and activism. He doesn't make waves with his opinions. He chooses roles based on the story, not on messaging. That could make him the right person to bring a fresh spark to Star Wars. Lucasfilm's current leadership has a history of focusing more on identity politics than good storytelling. So, the real question is, If Disney turns this movie into another message film, will Ryan Gosling go along with it, or will he walk away? If he leaves, it would be a big blow for Disney. It would show that even their biggest stars aren't willing to be part of that agenda. If Gosling stays, it'll be interesting to see if he can stay true to what matters to him, or if he'll give in to the pressure.
So this is a very evolving process. Nothing happens, overnight, but it's really thrilling to see him take this step.
It's not funny.
Right, so Adam Driver's a hunk as well. Let's not pretend. Adam Driver is, again, just great, though he's a gift to Star Wars. And I think Daisy Ridley was outstanding, but I think Adam Driver was the standout actor of the sequel trilogy. If in my opinion, I wish he had more to do, just a bit more. Russell would not do the film without me. Honestly, let's call a spade to spade. Made it wouldn't have been the same experience. No, you're right, probably could buy what by no by Ryan. Bye. Ryan Gosling doesn't just take any role that comes his way. He's not desperate for work or chasing a paycheck. Every movie he chooses is a carefully thought-out decision. If he smells Hollywood nonsense creeping in, he'll walk. And that's why Disney should be worried. If they try to turn this Star Wars film into another acolyte mess, Gosling will be the first one out the door. Look at his career. He's been a heartthrob in The Notebook, a tough driver in Drive, a struggling jazz musician in La La Land, and even Ken in Barbie. What these roles all have in common is that they're story-driven. Gosling doesn't pick movies just because they have a huge budget or a big franchise name. He chooses roles that challenge him and have real meaning. If something feels forced or shallow, he turns it down. Recently, Gosling said in an interview that he's become more selective after having kids. He's thinking about his family now, not just himself. He's not interested in roles that are too dark or mentally draining. He's not going to sign up for a Disney Star Wars film that just uses identity politics for the sake of headlines. He'll only stay if it feels real and respects the Star Wars legacy. Gosling isn't interested in using his platform for political statements. While other actors might push certain agendas, Gosling focuses on making great movies that entertain. Fans love him for that. He's here to act, not to preach. If Disney tries to turn this into a message film instead of sticking to what Star Wars is all about, they might lose their biggest star. Imagine if Gosling walks away. It would be a huge blow to Disney. They're already struggling to win back fans after years of missteps, and if Gosling, one of their top stars, leaves because of creative differences, it sends a strong message. It would prove that even Hollywood's biggest stars don't want to be part of forced narratives. Fans have been saying for years that Star Wars only works if it stays true to its roots, and Gosling walking away would confirm that. Disney is hoping Gosling's star power will help restore some credibility to Star Wars and undo the damage done. But Gosling isn't the kind of actor who plays along just to fit in. If this film starts going down the same road as The Last Jedi or The Acolyte, he'll walk. And with him, any remaining goodwill Disney has left could walk out the door too. Just like why did I sell this to Disney? Why did I sell this to Disney? He would have seen this in the water right well the tea leaves, because it was only a couple of years ago that one of the directors at Disney announced to the world it made headlines that she wanted 50% of character in the children's movies, all the cartoons, as well as massive franchises like Star Wars to be 50% boutique now in The Acolyte. I'd say it's more than 50%. They went for gold and low, and behold shock and surprise it's in. It's been a total flop, and people aren't having it. Disney knows this, with several movies tanking at the box office. They keep trying to push this kind of ideology into their films, but it's not working. Parents aren't happy, and as for kids, who knows if they get it or if they're just being influenced by it. Either way, it's not bringing in the numbers at the box office. But Disney keeps going, like they love losing. Why not just stop and focus on what works? Disney seems more focused on making as much money as possible, even if it means ruining great things like Star Wars. It's the classic, go woke, go broke situation. And honestly, I kind of enjoy watching it happen because it proves that consumers aren't on the same page as these big corporations. There are people sitting in boardrooms, often in their 60s or 70s, who've lost touch with what real audiences want. Then these young, fresh out of college employees come in and say, to reach young people, we need more LGBTQ characters and crazy plot twists. And the corporations go along with it, thinking they'll pull in the younger crowd. But what really happens? The audience doesn't show up. When people sit down to watch a show or movie, they want to relax and be entertained, not have social issues shoved in their faces. When you turn on Star Wars, you want to escape into that universe, not deal with some out-of-place storyline. I mean, people remember characters like Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader, not weird, out-of-left-field plots. Then there's the Acolyte reviewer from Mashable, who wrote, "Despite plenty of real-world evidence that queer people and queer animals exist all over the globe, there aren't any queer people in an entire galaxy." That's absurd. It's almost like they're missing the point of what made these stories great in the first place. Hollywood has learned a lot in the past decade, and one of the best lessons came from Shawn Levy. He's the guy behind Deadpool and Wolverine, which together made over $3 billion at the box office. Why? Because he respects the material. He doesn't push politics into every story or try to fix things that aren't broken. He understands what audiences want, and that's why fans trust him.
So I'm not going to talk about it.
So, can you tell me if it'll feature any characters that we know and love or knew?
This is the challenge Levy faces. He's proven he can handle big franchises. His work on Stranger Things, Real Steel, and The Adam Project shows he understands action, nostalgia, and strong emotional storytelling. But Star Wars is different. It's not just a sci-fi series. It's a deep, rich story that's been loved for over 40 years. If Levy understands that, this could be the Star Wars movie fans have been waiting for. But if Disney interferes and pushes their own agenda, it could ruin everything. Like with Deadpool, where Levy and Ryan Reynolds made it clear they'd walk if the film wasn't done right, the same could happen here. The real question isn't if Levy can make a great Star Wars film. He can. The real question is whether Disney will let him. If they push too hard, Levy might leave, and if that happens, Gosling might go too. That would leave Disney with another failed Star Wars project on their hands. This could either bring Star Wars back to life or show that Disney still doesn't get it. The choice is theirs. And then there's Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm. At a Star Wars event, she was asked what makes a great Star Wars story. Her answer? Women and political agendas. That sums up the problem at Lucasfilm right now. The real issue isn't talent or budget, it's the leadership under Kennedy. Star Wars has lost its way. The sequel trilogy ignored what George Lucas originally envisioned, pushing characters into directions that didn't make sense. The Acolyte was a mess, putting messaging over storytelling. Even Obi-Wan Kenobi, with one of the most loved characters in the series, ended up being a missed opportunity. Every time fans get excited, Lucasfilm finds a way to let them down. The worry now is whether Ryan Gosling will be forced into a political role instead of being allowed to just act. Star Wars was always about strong characters and timeless stories. It was never meant to be a platform for Hollywood's latest political message. Gosling picks roles based on depth, not on pushing an agenda. If the script tries to turn Star Wars into another political statement, it could fall flat again. T.O. truly save Star Wars and restore it to the glory fans once knew. Disney needs to stop focusing on pushing political agendas and return to what made the franchise so beloved in the first place: compelling characters and an engaging story. For years now, Star Wars has been dragged through the mud with films and shows that felt forced, disconnected, and at times, disrespectful to the core of what made the universe so magical. Instead of embracing the essence of Star Wars, Disney has continuously taken detours to force social and political messages into the mix, only alienating fans who just want to see good storytelling and character development. This is the moment when Disney needs to realize that the power of Star Wars lies in its deep-rooted mythology, its unforgettable characters, and the emotional journeys they take. These elements are what built a massive, dedicated fan base, not agendas or gimmicks. If Disney doesn't take this opportunity to get it right, the consequences could be disastrous. The franchise is at a crossroads, and fans have already endured years of disappointment. The recent films and shows have left fans frustrated and disillusioned, with each new project seeming more out of touch with what made Star Wars great. If they continue down this path, they risk losing even more of their loyal fanbase. The true test of whether they can get back on track will come down to how they treat the next phase of the saga. Gosling's involvement in a future Star Wars project is key to this. He's an actor with immense talent and a strong sense of artistic integrity. If Disney tries to push him into a role that prioritizes a political message over the character's depth or the story's substance, there's a real risk that Gosling could walk away from the project. And if he does, it won't just be a loss for the film. It will send a powerful message to Hollywood and the fans. It will show that even the biggest stars aren't willing to compromise their artistic values just to fit into a pre-designed narrative. If that happens, the damage will be significant. Fans won't just be disappointed, they'll leave for good. After years of getting their hopes up, only to be let down by rushed, agenda-driven projects, they won't stick around for another empty promise. Star Wars doesn't have many chances left. The brand is at a breaking point. Disney needs to recognize that they can't just keep relying on big names or flashy special effects to carry the story. They need to focus on what truly matters, the heart and soul of the franchise. And the truth is, they need Gosling more than he needs them. He has the power to elevate the project, but if they push too hard and force a narrative that doesn't fit, they risk losing him and the chance to fix everything that's gone wrong. The pressure is on, and it's up to Disney to decide what direction Star Wars will take moving forward. This could be a make-or-break moment for Star Wars. If this project falls apart, it might go down as one of the biggest flops in the history of the franchise. Fans are holding their breath, wondering if this will be the movie that finally brings Star Wars back to its former glory, or if it's just another disaster waiting to happen. The stakes are high, and there's a lot of speculation about what will happen next. Will the director stay on course, or will Disney's constant meddling derail the entire thing? With the way things are shaping up, it's hard to say what will happen. As we've seen in the past, things don't always go as planned when big studios get involved, and fans are already concerned. There's a lot of pressure on the people behind the movie to get it right this time. It's been a roller coaster of excitement and disappointment for Star Wars fans, and this could either be the moment that turns everything around or the one that drives it further into the ground. So, what do you think? Do you believe this is the turning point for Star Wars, or is it just another train wreck waiting to happen? Will the director be able to see it through, or will Disney's influence ruin it all? Your thoughts are important. Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you. If you're curious about what's really going on behind the scenes with Star Wars, and why so many fans are upset with projects like The Acolyte, make sure to follow us. We'll keep you updated on everything happening in the Star Wars universe, and we promise, you won't want to miss it. Check out our other videos, we break it all down so you know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. Don't miss out, subscribe now. Ryan Gosling doesn't just take any role that comes his way. He's not desperate for work or chasing a paycheck. Every movie he chooses is a carefully thought-out decision. If he smells Hollywood nonsense creeping in, he'll walk. And that's why Disney should be worried. If they try to turn this Star Wars film into another Acolyte mess, Gosling will be the first one out the door. Look at his career. He's been a heartthrob in The Notebook, a tough driver in Drive, a struggling jazz musician in La La Land, and even Ken in Barbie. What these roles all have in common is that they're story-driven. Gosling doesn't pick movies just because they have a huge budget or a big franchise name. He chooses roles that challenge him and have real meaning. If something feels forced or shallow, he turns it down. Recently, Gosling said in an interview that he's become more selective after having kids. He's thinking about his family now, not just himself. He's not interested in roles that are too dark or mentally draining. He's not going to sign up for a Disney Star Wars film that just uses identity politics for the sake of headlines. He'll only stay if it feels real and respects the Star Wars legacy. Gosling isn't interested in using his platform for political statements. While other actors might push certain agendas, Gosling focuses on making great movies that entertain. Fans love him for that. He's here to act, not to preach. If Disney tries to turn this into a message film instead of sticking to what Star Wars is all about, they might lose their biggest star. Imagine if Gosling walks away. It would be a huge blow to Disney. They're already struggling to win back fans after years of missteps. And if Gosling, one of their top stars, leaves because of creative differences, it sends a strong message. It would prove that even Hollywood's biggest stars don't want to be part of forced narratives. Fans have been saying for years that Star Wars only works if it stays true to its roots, and Gosling walking away would confirm that. Disney is hoping Gosling's star power will help restore some credibility to Star Wars and undo the damage done. But Gosling isn't the kind of actor who plays along just to fit in. If this film starts going down the same road as The Last Jedi or The Acolyte, he'll walk. And with him, any remaining goodwill Disney has left could walk out the door too.